Now, when you ran for leader, one of your 10 pledges was that there was no issue more important to our future than the climate emergency. Do you still believe that?
Yes, I think it's probably the single most important issue.
So if you really believe that, our viewer Elsa Reynolds wants to know this question. She asks you, have you seen the temperatures in Spain?
Yes.
Have you seen what is happening? Why are you then delaying your green agenda to combat climate change when we haven't any time to lose?
Well, we've got a massive agenda when it comes to climate change.
Which you're delaying. £28 billion of spending is not now going to happen in the first year if you win the election.
The target date for clean electricity of 2030 has not been moved. That will be a massive step in the right direction when it comes to the climate. It will also deliver cheaper bills, security, so Putin can't put his boot on our throat, and the next generation of jobs.
But you are delaying the spending of the 28 billion. You say that's because of the difficulties in the economy. But if you really believe it's the number one problem, why don't you just say, let's borrow what we need to borrow. Let's get on with it. Let's not delay.
Well, Laura, what I would say is it's the outcome that matters. That clean electricity, clean power by 2030. That's the outcome. That hasn't been delayed. That is there. That's the commitment. As to the funding, the funding doesn't deliver you, it isn't the sole issue by spending the money. What we've done is we've looked at, obviously, the amount that it costs to borrow. We're now in a different position because of the damage that the Tories have done to our economy. And we've also talked to those that we will partner with about how effectively we can achieve that goal of 2030. But the suggestion that the goal itself, which is what matters, can we get to clean energy, clean power by 2030, that the goal has changed. It hasn't. And that's going to be tough. And you can see that, you know, if you look at the Inflation Reduction Act in America, they're racing ahead with this, and the EU is now responding. Our government is sitting it out, saying we don't much like what's going on elsewhere. And that means that we won't be on the pitch, we won't win the race for the next generation of jobs. Which would be why
some of your critics in your own party would say that you have to get on with it, but you've answered that question. Did you say that you hated tree huggers?
No, I didn't say that.
Did you say anything like that? Where did that come from?
I'll tell you exactly the point I was making. I went to Scunthorpe, to the steelworks there, and the workforce there are desperate to go green. And what I said to the Shadow Cabinet and to others is, they're not tree huggers, they're not gluing themselves to the road, they haven't got placards, but they're absolute evangelists for green steel, because they know that all of their orders are for green steel. They know that their jobs depend on going green and the jobs of the next generation in steel. And they said to me, what we need, Keir, is one, a leader who understands this. We need a plan to go to electric furnaces, which we can do in 3 years. We need some match funding. And then they added this, which was really important. They said that in Scunthorpe, they thought they could get there by 2027, but the grid wouldn't then connect them till 2034.
So you don't
and so there, for me, was a sort of practical explanation of the change that an incoming government... I'm determined to get to grips with the planning, with the green steel, the grid, to make sure that we can actually preserve those jobs.
So you've made the point that you don't hate tree huggers.
So I was simply saying they're not, you know, this workforce, you can imagine the Scunthorpe steelworkers, they're not tree huggers, but they are very, very determined to go green.
And you've said before, so you don't hate tree huggers, but you've said also that you don't approve of how Just Stop Oil, the protest group, behaves. Why then do some of people in your team meet with them, engage with them? You know that the Conservatives are calling on you to stop that happening.
Oh, they haven't been meeting and engaging with them. There was some nonsense story, I think, in the Mail today. I've not met them. My team aren't meeting them. It's a complete distraction. What they're doing is disruptive. It is interfering with the lives of many, many people. It's arrogant. I think the single most effective way to do what we need to do when it comes to the climate emergency is to have a Labour government committed to clean power by 2030 and the other commitments that we've made.
Don't some people have the right to protest, though? I mean, in the Labour Party, people don't tend to believe in the right to protest. Some of your members of your party, some people, MPs in Parliament, think that you should be protesting more about the environment.
Well, of course there's the right to protest, but it's not an absolute right. It doesn't mean you can simply do what you like and say there's a right to protest. It's always been a balanced right, which means that, yes, there's a right to protest, but you've got to bear in mind the impact on other people. And when you stand in a road or block a road, when ambulances need to get there... My mum was very ill for most of her life, as you know, and had to travel in ambulances to hospital. And many people watching this will have a similar experience. The idea that you can simply arrogantly stand in front of an ambulance and stop it getting to hospital, I think is wrong. So there's no absolute right to protest. Because anyone can stand and say, because I'm protesting, you can't touch me. That's never been the case.
We've talked a bit about some of your pledges you made when you were running to be leader.